All right. I'm going to call to order the Building Advisory Board for the City of Salina on June the 17th, 2022. It's 3:02 p.m. Start with our roll call from starting on the left, I guess.
Rick Walters, Salina Plumbing.
Kevin Cool, Cool Construction.
David Holmgren, Sunflower Realty.
Mark Frazier, Frazier Brothers Plumbing. Scott Kraus, Calabrese Heating and Cooling.
And Mike McCall, M Squared Architects. All right. Just need to have the chair request confirmation that the Kansas Open Meeting Act required notice has been properly provided.
The packet was posted and required notice of the meeting was provided.
All right. Approval of meeting minutes. So I have a motion.
I move to approve the minutes.
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. Motion passes. New business. Public hearing items. We have none on the list. Quasi judicial matters, we have none. Legislative matters, we have none. Any other new business, Sean?
No, just down to administrative.
Okay. Administrative items, code review orientation, 3.1.
All right. Would like Chair to recognize David Miller came in too, so he's here as well.
Okay.
This is a 2018 code review. I know we've been talking about this for quite a while, and we're going to get started on that. Hopefully get started with the first hearings either next month or possibly the 1st of August. A little bit of background, code review and subcommittee meetings for Salina adopted codes, International Building Code, IBC, International Residential Code, IRC, International Fire Code, National Electric Code, International Energy Conservation Code, and Uniform Plumbing Code and Uniform Mechanical Code. Reviews for that will begin in July or August. Like I just said, the subcommittees will consist of 5 BAB members with voting powers, and subcommittee meetings will be open to the public. This process will take quite a bit of time and will include the following steps. The board will vote to form subcommittees and select its members for each code as we get to them. Subcommittees will meet on a bi-weekly basis. Roughly, that's what we're shooting for anyway, a bi-weekly basis until that code is complete. Staff will provide an overview for each subcommittee meeting, as well as notes of discussion at each meeting. When the subcommittee has completed the code it's working on, staff will compile a summary of discussion and possible amendments proposed for subcommittee approval. When the subcommittee has approved the final draft, staff will present the results to the full BAB for approval and recommendation for adoption. When all the codes have gone through this process and are approved for recommendation by the full BAB, staff will present findings to the City Commission for a first reading adoption. Once adopted on the first reading, staff then submits new codes and amendments to the Secretary of State, and codes are reviewed by the State Fire Marshal's Office. Once approved by the State Fire Marshal's Office, the codes are then brought back to City Commission for approval on a second reading and become law. Staff has decided to begin the process by providing information regarding the code change process and look at the differences between uniform and mechanical codes. In addition, it has been brought to our attention the State Fire Marshal's Office has become begun the adoption process for the entire body of the 2018 International Fire Code. They have completed their review of the document and have submitted to their legal team. We will provide updates as to the adoption process for the State Fire Marshal's Office as we receive them. I think it might, from what I understand, that can still be a fairly lengthy process. I know the State Fire Marshal's Office, they were on the 06 codes, and they're moving to the 18, just as we are, but I don't know how long that'll take with their legal review and all that business, what they're doing. But I've heard through the grapevine that might be a while yet, but I don't know that for sure. A little bit of history on the code adoption. Offer a little bit of a historical perspective as to the code adoption process and evaluation of codes. It is often a misconceived notion that building codes are a result of modern society. In fact, the first building code dates back to more than 4,000 years ago, having been discovered in ancient Egypt. Code of Hammurabi, circuit 2200 to 1800 BC, prescribed the execution of any builder whose faulty construction of a house caused the death of its owner. Although simple in context, it was very effective in ensuring a well-built, safe house. The first building codes of the United States were established in 1625 for safety and roof coverings. As a result, in 1630, Boston outlawed wood chimneys and thatch roof coverings. First known formal U.S. building code was written in 1788 in Old Salem. It was written entirely in German. Larger American cities began instituting building codes in the early 1800s, and in 1865, New Orleans became the first city to enact a law requiring inspections of public places. Throughout the centuries, builders have adapted their techniques to their surroundings. In turn, the building codes had to adapt as well to meet the changing techniques, methods, advancements in construction materials, and many other aspects. The adaptation and ongoing changes to these building codes provide assurance that the safest structures will continue to be built. The code change process is a continuing evolution, whereas a new code change occurs every 3 years. The model codes put out new codes every 3 years, resulting in newly published versions that incorporate the changes. The process to begin the code change as it applies to the City of Salina begins with much discussion regarding the significant changes to the current codes, any proposed amendments to the code, the specific codes to be considered for adoption, and the steps necessary for the adoption to occur. The Building Advisory Board serves a key role in the initial, intermediate, and end results of this adoption process. Today's discussion will focus on the upcoming code change process and the relationship thereof with the requirements as stipulated in state statute, which mandates the rules and regulations we must follow. And that's, if you want to look it up at home, that's 77-416. When a state agency plans on adopting and implementing a new edition of the code, each code is proposed and all amendments to those codes are filed with the Secretary of State. The proposed codes and additions, along with all the amendments, are reviewed by the State Fire Marshal's Office, like I mentioned earlier. This is often a very tedious and time-consuming process, resulting in a letter of clarification or request for more information before a final ruling is made by the State Fire Marshal's Office. I know the last time we did this, there was quite a bit of back and forth explanation as to why our amendment may or may not be code compliant or being greater, at least equal to or greater than the current code that's in effect. There's also confusion and conflict as to how to determine exactly what entitled entities are deemed a state agency. Many city municipal governments, based on how their legal counsel advises as to what state agency means, will adopt codes and subsequent amendments without submitting said information to the State Fire Marshal's Office. International Code Council references the state of Kansas as having a state building code, but authorizes local jurisdictions to adopt local codes. That being said, we do submit our code information and state amendments to the State Fire Marshal's Office. Thus, it is advantageous to our end to reflect the current edition of the code that is being enforced by the State Fire Marshal's Office. Since the State Fire Marshal's Office appears to be investigating the possibility of adopting the 2018 edition of the International Codes, we should look toward the same process with as few amendments as possible. With the understanding of how the process evolves, our obligations and requirements regarding the state statute, we can then move forward with subsequent meetings to discuss significant changes to the body of the codes, any amendments and adoption process. Discussions regarding significant changes will become topics of our additional meetings and subcommittee meetings. So, with that, I have ordered upstairs, I have the IBC, IRC, and NEC, and IFC, copies of all those for all of you upstairs, and I'll be bringing them down whenever we get to each one of those, so you guys will all have copies of those. And so we'll probably start with the IBC. That was my plan anyway, and we'll kind of move on from there. So we don't need to at this meeting, but I need you guys to be thinking about code committees. If we start with the IBC, who do you think best reflects? Who do you think needs to be on that committee? So on and so forth. Like I said, that's not on the agenda today to actually vote on that and do that. Probably the next BAB meeting, we will be doing that. The July meeting, and then shortly after that, we'll be starting with first subcommittee meetings, and we'll get scheduled, schedule the schedules of those meetings set. And so just make sure everybody can just kind of keep that in mind. If you think you might be wanting to be on that board, thinking about time schedules, things like that, how we're going to move forward with this. And so,
Can anybody be on those committees that want to be?
yes, like I said, we try to limit to 5 or so. I mean, we don't want the whole board on every subcommittee, otherwise it kind of can get bogged down that way. But yeah, you guys get a pick who gets to be who's on which one. I mean, if you want to be on the, obviously you'd probably be on the plumbing one, and each of you have special niches on what you do is for your professions and things like that, and that's kind of why we have such a broad range on the Building Advisory Board. But you guys get to pick who's on which subcommittee, but we try to limit those to 5, and then we kind of move on from there. So I don't know if you guys had any, is there any other questions about how we're kind of moving forward here?
I believe, and you can confirm this, am I off in August?
Yes.
So there's no sense in me getting involved in any of it.
Yeah, I mean,
Is there anybody else that's off in August?
I believe you're the only one.
Okay?
And let's see, so I was going to mention this in the later, toward the unfinished business or whatever, but we still need another electrician, and we'll need another person to fill Mr. Miller's role. And like, we're also short a youth member. And so I don't know, if you guys have any ideas of people that who might want to be serving on this board, we need to get contacted the city clerk's office to fill out an expression of interest form so we can get these backfilled, because we're kind of getting into the thick of code review hearings, and we'll need a full board would be ideal. But
And when do you anticipate the process being, the review of all the codes?
done?
All the subcommittees and to the final, before you're ready to present?
In the past, it's taken about a year and a half to go through all of them. But it can vary. I mean, I'm gonna, like, for each subcommittee meeting, probably I'll start out with, the first quarter of the book. I'll compile a list of significant changes from the 2012 to 2018. We'll kind of discuss those. You guys could, feel free to look at them at home too, if you have anything else you want to bring up, but I'll kind of compile the I don't know, highlights, changes, things like that have come up. If you guys in your trades or in the field have heard about any other issues that, hey, this should be an amendment or this amendment should go away, we'll also discuss all the amendments that we already have for the 12 as whether or not we're going to move forward to the 18. Yeah, I'll provide an overview to all that stuff, but I'll definitely need input from all of you, obviously, on the subcommittees to get through it all. But
And when do you anticipate the mechanical? I heard you mention many of the codes. I didn't hear mechanical or plumbing.
yeah, I did. Those aren't the books that I have right now. We only had so much in the budget to purchase books, and right now I ordered from the ICC first, the ones that we have adopted. So those are the ones I have in. So
So are you going to go ahead and order? We've adopted the UPC and the UMC. Are you going to get those books then available?
yeah, I will.
You
Yes.
just haven't.
I just haven't ordered them yet because I have to wait until after the first of the year to order those.
Okay.
Last time they went through this, they allowed some other contractors to come in and give them code credits, certificates, or
Yeah,
educational credits.
yeah, and that'd
So
be
we'll
the same.
doing the same thing.
Yeah, absolutely. These building advisory board meetings and subcommittee meetings are always open to the public. We would recommend any input from contractors or whoever wants to come in and talk about whatever code we're discussing. They wouldn't have voting power on the subcommittee, but they're willing and welcome to address the board at any of these meetings. So, and yeah, that actually coming to these meetings is probably some of the best education you can get, honestly, because it's direct code. We're talking about every line of it, and yeah, it'd be great education, and we definitely encourage whoever wants to come.
If I recall, the participants, I assume, are still getting the half credit for each hour. Is that correct?
We got a full hour.
Yeah, the board members get, yeah.
But the participants that come, they
Yeah.
only get the half.
If it's code-based, they get full as well.
Will they?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Good.
A lot
Good.
of times we'll have meetings where it's not really code-related. It's, we're voting in a new chair, or we're doing something like that. Well, I can't really give full credit for, that's nothing to
But
do with
code-related, the
anything.
participants,
Yeah.
the audience, the gallery will go ahead and be eligible for 1 hour for every hour.
Yeah, for
Just
sure.
as worth. Good.
Okay. Is there any other questions about this agenda item? Okay, so if there's not, like I said, again, encourage you all to think about, we're going to start with the IBC, 2018 IBC, so be thinking about it. Nominations next month. We'll shouldn't have to switch to a Friday anymore. It just didn't work out. I was out of the office this last Tuesday, so that's why we moved to this week. But yeah, in the future. But next second Tuesday, be thinking about who's going to be on that board.
So that
subcommittee.
the next meeting, you're going to pass out those books.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay,
All right.
Chair, I think we're done with this one.
All right, moving on, administrative items 3.2, memo to contractors about unfinished basements.
All right. This, again, this is informational only. You guys don't need to vote on this or anything. I just wanted to let you know first. We'll probably send this out on Tuesday whenever we get back into the office here. Anyway, discussion has been had about finished basements happening after the certificate of occupancy has been issued for new houses with unfinished basements on the permit, which means they're built with an unfinished basement. Staff is concerned that basements are being finished after the fact without permits or inspection, and important life safety aspects are being left out. Attaches a memo that describes an administrative change that will alleviate those concerns. And I think you guys probably have a copy of this in your packet. The following will be required of all new house permits issued with the basement listed as unfinished if the contractor constructs any walls in the basement that are not integral to the construction, which are not load-bearing walls, including but not limited to future bathrooms, bedrooms, or family rooms. If they do build such walls, required smoke detectors as if the rooms were finished, and a lighting circuit that is AFCI arc fault circuit interrupter protected. The following is still required for unfinished basement, whether the additional framed walls are installed or not. GFCI protected receptacle for the unfinished area, and compliant egress windows with gravel in the base and compliant ladders. Yeah, the idea here is if somebody buys a new house with an unfinished basement, we know this happens. People finish their basements and don't get permits for it, don't tell us, and we feel like we want to make sure that they're still safe, even though, we know this happens. We obviously don't want that to happen, but we know it does.
Isn't the homeowner still allowed to do that, though?
Yeah, the homeowner can finish their basement, but it does require a permit to do that. But we just want to make sure that those basic life safety things are in place. So a lot of times builders will frame out the bedrooms, or the mechanical room, will put a wall around that, or a bathroom or something. And if the framing's all done, all the homeowner has to do is put up some sheetrock and they're done. And so, but we just want to make sure that these life safety things, especially the smoke detectors and the arc fault stuff that's required by code is in there. So that, if non-permitted work happens, which, we're not naive to that, it does happen, we want to make sure that they're as safe as possible. So that's kind of where we were at with that. We weren't, for a while, we talked about, making them pay for a basement finish permit if they wanted to add those walls. The general contractor wanted to add those walls down there, but that didn't really seem fair to them, because it still might not want to finish it all the way out. The homeowner doesn't want to pay for it now and all that business. So we just went back to just make sure you get the smoke detectors where they're going to go, and the arc fault circuit installed as well. That seemed to be the fairest way around it. So with that, that's all of that one, unless anybody had any more questions about it.
All right. Unfinished or other business. We have none on the agenda. Do you have anything else, Sean?
I do not. Like I say, the only thing I was gonna mention there was to, if you guys got people that that might want to be on the this board for this code review process, to be sure and spread the word, because it's going to be pretty important that we get as much input from the public or anybody that wants to be on this board to get this through. And it's an important job for the Building Advisory Board, probably one of the most important jobs. And if anybody knows any tradespeople or otherwise that can fill the board spots that are vacant, please encourage them to do so.
Sean, I had a question. It sounds like your subcommittee, the process you've outlined here, the subcommittees are going to be in a sequential manner. Is that correct? First, you're going to go with subcommittees one at a time. Is that correct?
Yes.
In a sequential manner. Would it save, or what do you see the conflicts of, to expedite the process, having concurrent subcommittees meeting and reviewing code?
It's going to be limited pretty much on my time to be able to do that. It's going to take me quite a bit of time to go through each book and prepare reports and things like that. Then after the meetings, prepare summaries and all that business for each meeting. And so I don't think I can do more than one at a time.
So that was your thinking?
Yes. Yeah, I can't, I'm, if we want to do this on a biweekly basis, I mean, that's this, and that's obviously, as you're probably all aware, that's not my only job. So I got to do that and get the rest of the stuff through there. So doing more than one code at a time, at this point, I don't think it'd be.
So you'll be attending each subcommittee?
Absolutely, yes.
All right. No other questions. We'll go on to number 5, public forum. Is there any public comments on Zoom or in person there who would like to talk?
I have, this is Brian Rogers with IATMO. I have a very unstable internet connection, so I will try and attend the next meeting and provide some comments at that time. Thank you.
Thanks, Brian. All right, hearing other comments, we'll look for adjournment. Do I have a motion?
I make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. We're adjourned.